Ready? Ready? Okay. Hello, good afternoon. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Caldwell Hearing Examiner for Wednesday, February 15th, 2023 at 1:30. This is a public hearing and my name is Sabrina Durkee and I'll be your hearing examiner for today. I can hear quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use applications in the city of Caldwell. And with that, we will start. We have, I guess, review of procedures, action item number 1, approve the November 9th, 2022 and July 11th, 2023 hearing examiner minutes, which we have now. And we will open up an old business item. This is action item, public hearing, case number SUP 22-000028. And this item was continued from our last public hearing to 1/11/23. So with that, just real quick, this is a public hearing process. Public oral testimony will be taken from those in attendance and who have signed up at the sign-up sheet to speak, which is available at the front of the room. When you testify, please come to the podium and speak into the microphone, state your full name and address. All comments should be addressed to myself, the hearing examiner, and should be relevant to the application. With that, we will talk to staff real quick and get an update.
Let's see. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Alex Jones, Associate Planner, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. As before, this was continued from the previous meeting due to some conditions that didn't quite make sense throughout the application. Those have been changed. Instead of there being 10 conditions, there is now 9. With the removal of the operating hours. This was agreed upon between staff and the applicant. And everything else is the same minus that condition.
Plus City of Nampa.
And the City of Nampa was notified
Great.
as requested, and we received no comments from them.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. I believe our hearing was closed. I'm happy to reopen it if the applicant would like to speak. It looks like, yes, they would like to speak, so I will reopen public testimony. If you'd like to please come up, state your name and address. Thank you.
Madam Hearing Examiner, thank you. Jeff Hatch with Hatch Design Architecture. Our address is 200 West 36th Street, Boise, Idaho. Thank you for your time this afternoon. From our last presentation and dialogue on this application, there were kind of 2 considerations that were brought up. One was the hours of operation, which has been addressed. The other one was in regards to the phasing of the project. The special use permit is only good for a certain amount of time. We perceive that the duration of construction will last longer than that. Okay. And so we had inquired if we could up front request additional time beyond that, since we're already perceiving that would be the case. So I just wanted to open it back up to see if there was any conclusion with that question.
Sure. Thank you. I'd probably redirect to Alex. I'm assuming that within code, we're only allowed a certain amount of time, and then the applicant would then have to file for a time extension?
That is correct. They can do by code, they can only have the 12 months, or yes, 12 months, and then they can do a time extension for 6 months.
How many times can they apply for a time extension?
I believe it's just once.
Just once. That's administrative?
Correct.
And if they want to do additional one, they would have to refile a whole new public hearing application if they're past the 18 months?
It could be allowed as a condition to extend that time period. So if you feel comfortable in your decision to, instead of the 12-month, it being a 18-month, then they can do the extension later. Sure. If the applicant can also agree with that, staff would be comfortable to do so. Yes.
Madam Hearing Examiner, we feel comfortable with the conditions that are standard as far as for phase 1. That is the majority of the frontage and the primary 2-story structure, which gives you a complete street frontage and appearance to the project. For the balance of phasing, that would be where if you would consider elongating that time frame. We do perceive that that would take longer. We have a canal that we have to cross,
Right.
which is more involved just from an irrigation standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The timing of when we're able to do that construction may be delayed just because of the schedule of that irrigation canal.
Sure.
And so we found that that in general takes longer. And
So how many phases were we talking? It was
we have three
three.
phases. Yeah.
So phases 1 and 2 can be done in the 18-month period?
I'm confident with phase one.
Phase 1,
For
okay.
for phases 2 and 3, I'd probably have to defer to Chris. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Hi, my name is Christopher Shackstead with Hubble Homes, 701 South Allen in Meridian.
Thank you.
And really what will drive the phasing for 2 and 3, besides some of the engineering conditions, would be market conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So our plan is to get, as Jeff had mentioned, the entire frontage complete, the large 2-story building, with the balance being filled in as the market allows.
Thank you, Chris. But, so what do you, just in general, what do you think phases 2 and 3? I mean,
Within my lifetime.
I can't give you an infinite amount of time for
All
you
right.
to see you.
Well, I would say that getting through the first phase would be a 2.5-year project in terms
Okay.
of getting fully leased. We would then start on phase 2, which would be another year, and phase 3 a year after that.
So we're looking at maybe overall 4 years for build out,
Yes,
with maybe allowance of one-time extension.
yes.
Okay,
That should do it. And
Okay.
if we can do it faster, obviously we would.
sure. No, thank you.
Okay.
I'll take that into consideration. How long are you guys comfortable with, how much, for the time, for the CUP or the SUP to be held?
So, Madam Hearing Examiner, Robin Collins, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. According to the code, so it's 12 months, right,
Mhm.
until they can pull a building permit and then get one 6-month extension. And then it's 24 months from the time they pull the building permit till they get a C of O.
Okay,
And then they can have a 3-month extension on that plus an additional 90-day extension. So you've actually got like a little over 3 years to get your certificate of occupancy. And it really, special use permit doesn't really talk about phasing. So I would guess that as long as they had a certificate of occupancy for at least that first phase and we're proceeding forward
okay.
with the next phase, we would be good with that.
We would have that.
As the
Okay, speak
applicant
one more
had,
time.
oh yeah, and Mayor Jeff Hatch with Hatch Design. We feel comfortable with that time frame for phase 1. We can certainly achieve that both from an entitlement standpoint and also a construction standpoint. It will probably take 2 to 2.5 years to do phase 1, just construction wise. So the consideration would be, if we have 6 months from there to finish our phases 2 and phase 3, that's where we on the front end already feel like we're not providing ourselves enough time.
Mhm.
So if there would be a consideration that from phase 1 C of O, we have, you know, a 6-month extension or something of that nature, or 12-month extension for those other phases, I think that would be at least a reasonable, you know, starting point
Okay.
for consideration.
So thank you, Jeff. Let me direct Rob real quick. Rob, what kind of implications do you see with like engineering plans and for submittal in phases? And going past the SUP timeline?
That's all I get. A lot of it depends on from my perspective for engineering, a lot of it depends on the trip generation. And so everything on the frontage and from an engineering and transportation standpoint is all contingent on the trip generation. So if it's taken a while for the project to get off the ground, I don't see that as an issue with regards to engineering improvements or, you know, infrastructure improvements. But once they have trip generation being produced out there, then we want to make sure that we have certain improvements completed at specific times so that we're not causing any problems.
Madam Hearing Examiner and Rob, the majority of the trip generation on the project will be created within phase one. The balance of these phases are the lowest traffic generating uses in at least a highway traffic evaluation standard. So we feel that the majority of Rob's concern would be addressed in that phase one, both from a street completion and improvement standpoint, but also from a trip generation standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I'm comfortable giving them a little extra time. Do you want to devise a condition of approval, giving them a little extra allowance?
You can just do a modification of condition 4.
Yeah, we just modify that.
You just want to say it since you're saying it?
Sure.
Madam Hearing Examiner, I think we could just revise condition number 4, and just allow them to keep that, the language where it's within 12 months of the date of signature to pull the building permit for phase 1. And then they would have, obviously, the code required 2 years to get your C of O, and you can request those extensions. And then I think what we add to that is that they have 12 months to start each and complete each phase after that. So 12 months for
Yeah.
phase 2, then
Okay.
12 more months for phase 3.
And now give them the 2 years and then the year and year. I think that would be, I'd be comfortable with that, yes.
Madam Hearing Examiner, we would also find that to be very generous and agreeable.
Great, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think that, is everyone, no one else? No other public comments? So, based on the record of evidence, findings of fact, conclusions of law and order, the hearing examiner hereby orders the case SUP 22-000028, a request for a special use permit to construct a self-storage in a C2 community commercial zone as approved. Under the subject conditions of approval as presented in the findings, fact, conclusions of law, including our revised condition for expiration for the SUP. And with that, I don't have anything else. We will close public hearing, and thank you for everyone's time.